Hey, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to take a close look at the Thrustmaster Ferrari wireless GT cockpit. This is a model that I wanted to review for quite a long time now, and I came across this thing on, let's say, an old flea market, and yeah, the box is completely busted up, but it did come with a box, and that is even more unique than maybe the wheel itself. If I recall correctly, we did have an Xbox version and a PlayStation, and this is the PlayStation version. But what is actually the idea of this thing? So the picture already shows us that this thing is a complete cockpit. So we don't need any, let's say, desk to put it on. This thing is kind of a unique design, and I must give like Thrustmaster some credit for this, because this was a design I personally never seen after this one. Thrustmaster Ferrari, and this is kind of cool. This is a wireless functional device 430 model, and this is of course dedicated to one of the Ferraris. However, when it comes to this, you can see that the manual also, let's say, shows how you need to disassemble everything. But you can adjust it in height when it comes to the steering wheel. And the overall, let's say, experience, I can already tell you, was completely different than my typical racing wheel. Okay, so let's unlock the system itself by turning it counterclockwise and lift it up, because this is one of the ways you can adjust it, and it was a kind of cool thing. But we need to put some batteries in this thing. Yeah, batteries. But the cockpit also utilizes two pedals, where we normally having like the pedals like have the option to basically assemble it to the wheel itself. Everything is pre-assembled on this cockpit itself. But how about the pedals itself? You can just see over here that the brake got a very nice resistance, where the acceleration doesn't have any resistance at all. In my opinion, how it should be. What makes this thing kind of cool also when it comes to the premium feel is like when it comes to the pedal, very nicely grown pedals, and they are actually made out of metal. There are two parkers in the middle of them, so you can just disassemble them if you want to, but if there were like any upgrades for that, I have no idea. At the back we're finding the battery compartment, we can remove it, and also here we're finding the USB drive. And yeah, the USB thumbstick or the receiver, that is one thing you always need to double check when finding this in the wild when it comes to the wheel itself. How many times this freaking dongle has been forgotten and they're just basically strewing away. They want to sell the wheel itself, but without the dongle this thing is just more like a piece of art, because you cannot do anything with it. But let's plug it into the PlayStation 3. That is what I want to be focusing on. You can use it in the PlayStation, let's say 4 maybe, or 5 if you want to, but you will have no connectivity most of the time. So it's quite limited. You can switch it over here to PC and PlayStation 3. But when it comes to PC, I've noticed that it's always going to be a hit or miss when it comes to these things. So let's go. Oh yeah, I don't forget. Wicked, we need to put in the freaking batteries. Yeah, the quality of the wheel, this is more like a problem. This is the reason I hate rubberized wheels, because it's really sticky, particularly when it comes to the top part over here. So that's the reason I rather have like an, like say, leather or something like that, because this is not an overall great experience. So it's not that bad. I've been cleaning it up. Over here we're having all of the buttons. The logo of Ferrari cannot be pushed in. Over here it feels a little bit cheap when it comes to the side buttons, but when it comes to, let's say, the shifters at the back, I think it's absolutely great, because they are made out of metal and will give like a very fun experience when actually racing. But yeah, there is no force feedback, nothing at all. Whereas the wheel does have like a very cool, let's say, preset for some games like sport, racing and all kinds of cool things. However, this is not going to be, let's say, perfectly utilized with every single game. The same also goes for the engine stop. This is actually not a like button. What I understand of these things is most of the time they're just like a D-pad thing where you can navigate through the games itself. What is kind of cool are those buttons in the wheel, because this can be very convenient. So let's say if you just want to use the racing wheel and you don't want to use the pedals, you can actually use these two for acceleration and brake. So another cool feature is that you can basically adjust the wheel itself for a certain height. Ooh, crap. But you can just feel the mechanism underneath, and this works quite well. So we can just basically get it in the right position and we're ready to go. Of course we need to still adjust this, but I'm just going to be doing it when I'm actually done with putting it in a certain position, and we can just slide it in fairly easy. There we go. But if you need to disassemble the wheel itself, there's a possibility also when it comes to the wire, because they made this detachable. Okay, so when the plug and play situation seems to be working just fine, yeah, the main problem I'm having is getting freaking like anything going on over here, where I can just actually steer it to the left and the right. There is no controller configuration, so let's grab myself a controller and set it all up, because it doesn't really work when it comes to the plug and play situation, because none of the buttons do freaking anything. But if you also wonder like how is it when it comes to the rotation, this is a really old school wheel with having not like 100 or at least like a 360 degrees rotation. So it's a very limited wheel when it also comes to that. But the unfortunate part is that I did have a lot of problems with this. I will give an example. When plugging it in, it will automatically see my controller configuration of the dongle. But actually when going to be powering on the device itself, it's going to be automatically just accelerating. So let's figure this out and let's see if we can actually play the game. But my first impression of this, what a piece of crap. Seriously. When playing a couple of games, there was no way of connecting this thing to the dongle. The dongle recognized by the PlayStation 3, but the communication between the two devices is not working at all. And there is no way of actually playing some games. It's quite disappointing. So the final conclusion is very simple.